Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Nancy with Astrology and Angel Mediums. I hope that you're enjoying the stuff that I'm posting. So I forgot to do a March shadow work kind of reading to see what it is that maybe we need to focus on and what it is that, we should really be putting effort into. We'll put it that way. So I've already have everything shuffled. I'm just going to start kind of pulling and kind of seeing what messages we have here. So we're going to start off with the Threads of Fate. This is the Weaver Tarot, I think is what it's called. We want this upside down. I don't know. Let's see. I feel like that's a good one like that. How many should we do? Okay. All right. I think that's good. What do you guys think? I think 5 cards is good. That's kind of what I'm feeling. All right. I'm going to do the Earth and Bone. We'll do a Dark Mirror of my body. Okay. We'll do a dark, let's call it Dark Magic. We'll do a Lantern Tarot. Oh my goodness. Okay. I always think I'm going to have like plenty of room. So hopefully everything's showing up. And then we have Herb Garden. Okay. Let's see. And we'll do an affirmation after. All right. So it looks like we have quite a few cards, right? And because of my nails, I can't always grab these. So let's see if we can kind of make it look cute. All right, so very first card I pulled was Strength. I felt like this was probably more about, actually, no, I think I want it reversed. Yeah. So with this being reversed and this being the very first card, I feel like maybe right now we're having to kind of lean back into our personal strength and having to reestablish and recognize how much we've overcome, what it is that we've been focusing on, what we're prioritizing, what we feel is the lesson for us moving forward. Now, the Strength card is also the current astrological card for this year, numerological number for this year, which is the number 82024, adds up to 8, making this an 8 year, so to speak. And I like to associate the number 8 not just with strength and establishing and like restrictions and boundaries. I feel like it has a lot to do with like Saturn's energy. And I know like Saturn had moved into Pisces. And so I think a lot of us are kind of feeling a little bit of this like, what am I really doing? Like, why am I doing all of this stuff? And why am I focusing on these certain aspects of my life when maybe they don't really resonate with like what I believe in and who I am anymore? And so I think the Strength card reversed, I think it's really kind of redirecting that energy into a much more internalized kind of lesson for us. Maybe we need to reflect on what it is that we've been working towards that maybe is no longer resonating or aligned with what we believe in and who we are. So I do think that maybe there's this like kind of internalized reflection about what it is that we're willing to kind of put effort into and what it is that we want to kind of work towards. Now, the next card, I think this one is good upright. I think I had pulled it reverse, but I think this one's good. So the 9 of Cups is very much this card of like our wishes coming true, things coming together. It's very much about what is it that we need to kind of let go of before we can kind of move into like the next phase. And I think it's very much this energy for March in a lot of ways, because astrologically the year will begin during the vernal or spring equinox on like March 19th, I think this year, when the sun will move into Aries, or maybe it's March 20th. I'll have to look at the calendar again. It's been a while since I've like looked at when the sun was going to move signs. But I think that this also is talking about maybe we have been lacking in giving ourselves permission to kind of celebrate what it is that we've overcome, everything that we've accomplished. Maybe we're so caught up in like, oh, I still have this much further to go, or things haven't really been going the way that I thought they were going to. So I don't know if I can take some time out to kind of celebrate and kind of give myself an opportunity to look at what it is that I'm co-creating for the future. So I think with the Nine of Cups is that maybe there's a fear of being able to enjoy where we're at. If we're constantly moving that sort of target with like strength kind of reverse, I think that it's maybe we feel like we're not very deserving of being able to enjoy things because there's so many things going on in the world that are outside of our control, that are hard, that are challenging, that are difficult, that feel like, why should I have the opportunity to enjoy the things that I'm doing? So I think with the Nine of Cups is that maybe it's a reminder for us that it's okay for us to really be in our lives and to really step back into our goals, our desires, that creative kind of intuitive energy of Pisces, essentially, where it feels a little bit boundless in a lot of ways. And maybe this is a time to kind of understand that it's okay for you to step back into your life and enjoy and give yourself your props, basically, for your hard work, your dedication, the strength that you've had to develop in different ways. Now we have the Seeker of Coins, which I think this is essentially going to be the Knight of Pentacles in traditional tarot decks. So I think that this is kind of saying, like, what are you seeking out? Maybe this is an opportunity to kind of look at what you're prioritizing when it comes to like the work that you're doing, as well as what it is that you're trying to kind of build up for yourself. Now, I think the Knight of Pentacles also kind of brings a little bit of this, like, actually, this may be the Page of Pentacles. So I think that maybe this is kind of giving us a little bit of an opportunity to kind of re-explore what it is that we are wanting to kind of get out into the world and do. So I think the Knight would be more of like a messenger of coins in this deck. It's been a while since I've used it, so I do apologize if I'm getting this wrong, but I think that this is more of a Page of Coins or Page of Pentacles kind of energy. And when I think of pages, I think that there's a little bit of this like immaturity and like being a little bit naive, a little bit new, a little bit inexperienced in the physical world. Because if we talk about coins, that's the earth realm. It talks about, our bodies. It talks about our physical manifestation, the work that we're doing, how we are co-creating our physical world in our lives. And I think with this one is that it's really saying that maybe there's a little bit of this like sense of, I don't really know how I'm going to go out into the world and how I'm going to make some of my dreams come true, because it's hard for me to recognize and see how much hard work I've already done and how experienced I am in other things. So I think that maybe there's going to be some doors opening in some way that maybe challenge how we view our successes, our happiness, and also maybe even recognizing our own potential strength. And it just seems like maybe this kind of like stuck, blocked energy that we've been feeling is redirecting our sense of self in some ways. It's maybe making us recognize, hey, I'm not really happy with how things have been, or maybe I need to change up what I feel I've been, given an opportunity to do. Next, we have the 10 of Cups, which this is very much like all of your wishes coming true, happy life kind of energy. It's everything coming together. And so while it may feel very much like you're having to lean into your own personal strength, and maybe there's been a lot of this kind of energy that's been a little bit challenging or difficult to kind of deal with, it's saying like you've done all of the hard work. And so it's okay for you to take a step back and say, I have done everything that I need. My wishes do have the potential of coming true, even if they don't always align with what I see kind of going on in the world. And it's okay for me to take a risk that maybe is a little bit outside of my comfort zone so that everything can come together. And I think that the more that we lean into allowing ourselves to being happy, the more that we can share that happiness with others. And I'm a very big believer in, I want everyone to find whatever it is that makes them happy, because I feel more happy people will make this world much more beautiful and a much better place to exist in. And I think the reason why so many of us feel so discombobulated or out of sorts with the world especially if we've been doing kind of that inner world work and that shadow work, and really like paying attention to like what we're doing within ourselves and what healing we need to do, the more that we recognize how many people out in the world haven't done any of that or don't take some time out for some self-reflection. So I think the 10 of Cups kind of brings this beautiful kind of energy of like, who are you surrounding yourself with? What sort of things are you ready to kind of take to the next level? What sort of wishes have you been working on to kind of co-create and make come true? And what is it that you want to bring into this next phase with yourself? So I do think that maybe with this being a shadow work reading, I would say that maybe there is a little bit of hesitation to admit what makes you happy or to reflect on how success truly makes you feel. And if it's okay for you to give yourself permission to say, it's okay for me to be successful. It's okay for me to want to be supported and to want to do the things that really speak to my heart in new ways. And I think for a lot of us, we've been told, oh, you should, want this and this and that. And we get a little bit distracted by trying to either follow the same footsteps that have been kind of laid before us. And I think, especially now that I'm in my 40s, I've kind of come to this like realization and recognition of like, what makes other people happy isn't the same thing that makes me happy. And that's okay. It doesn't make it wrong for me to have completely different desires or to want to work on things in a different way. So I think with the 10 of Cups is that maybe it's saying, hey, if everything was as beautiful as you want it to be for yourself, why does it still feel uncomfortable for you? Or why do you feel undeserving of it? And I think that's where some of this work, this common thread is kind of coming and bringing us back into it. Now, the Seeker of Swords, I'm going to assume that this is the Page of Swords. Again, maybe it's saying you're too much in your head. You're not looking at how you're communicating and how you're connecting. And maybe it's time for you to step back into your personal power and give yourself permission to say, I want to be in my truth. I want to really bring things back into balance, especially mentally. So I think with this kind of being shadow work, I think it's kind of reminding you of like, hey, there's a lot of these thought processes within that you haven't worked through, that you haven't healed. Maybe you're like following the same ruts and kind of being, a little bit stuck in old patterns that are outside of what it is that you really desire. So as much as you're like, okay, I'll be open to success, I'll be open to happiness, I'll be open to things being easy, which is something I've had to really look within myself and why I kind of resist that because of that inner strength kind of like monologue that I have of like, I'm strong enough to put up with anything. But that doesn't mean that we should. And I think with the Seeker of Swords, it's kind of giving you this inspiration to be like, just because you can doesn't mean that you should. And that can kind of go one of two ways. It can go for the good and the bad in life. But I do think that it is kind of giving you this like permission of like going back out into the world, using your clarity of like what it is that you believe in within yourself and cutting away from anything that you feel has been holding you back, especially when it comes to like the mental aspects within yourself and like that limiting kind of ideology, those limiting beliefs, that limiting kind of like thought process of how you're capable of doing what you need in order to move into like the next phase. So I hope that makes sense with these guys. All right, let's look at this card. All right, so this is from the Lantern Oracle. And this is all about metamorphosis. This is power and strength lie within our surrender to change. Surrender. It's a word that is often thrown around very easily. And I think a lot of people have a little bit of resistance to certain words and how we use words and how we bring those words to life, so to speak. And for a lot of people that maybe have a lot of like a sense of control, of wanting to kind of like defeat the beast within, so to speak, with like strength, metamorphosis here, where it's talking about power and strength lie within your surrender to change. There's a lot of strength that goes into allowing and into, really being receptive and open to the things that are trying to shift for you. Metamorphosis to me is also this energy of letting things go, letting things die off, letting things have their seasons in a lot of ways. And I think with metamorphosis is that it's kind of reminding us that, hey, we each have everything at our disposal that we need. Everything has its season. Sorry if you can hear my dog. And I think it's very much this energy of learning to just move with the flow that is trying to come into your life and how it is trying to come into your life. And I think with this is that it's almost telling you there's so much beauty, there's so much power, there's so much strength in being able to just kind of surrender to the things that are shifting. We can try to control certain things, but we don't really have a lot of control in this life. The only thing that we do get to control is how we feel and how we think and how we show up in this life. And I think with metamorphosis is that it's maybe trying to say, don't get caught up in how other things are happening around you or things that maybe you wish you could control at this time. I think it's kind of just saying, let it go, let it be what it needs to be. Now, next to that, we have Sorcerer, which is all about ambition, willpower, creation. We're getting a lot of power, strength, like this drive, right? And I think with this shadow work, I think that maybe some of us are resistant to having things go the way that we want them to. Maybe we have a little bit of resistance of just trusting that if we show up authentically and if we show up as we are, that we can co-create and bring the beautiful things that we're looking for. When I think of the word sorcerer, I also think of like magician, magic. I think of like, Merlin kind of energy, this like wisdom and this kind of presence of understanding what it is that you need in order to create exactly what it is that you're trying to create, right? A good magician knows exactly what they are trying to accomplish before they attempt the magic, right? And so I think that there's a lot of this like sense of spiritual awareness. There's a sense of understanding that you have everything at your disposal. And the tools are all within you in order for you to have exactly what you need and to have things unfold. I think it's a very beautiful like sense of recognizing that you have built the foundation of what it is that you need so that you can begin these new beginnings, so that you can kind of create the beautiful next phase of life. And with this being a shadow work reading is maybe like you're forgetting that. Maybe you're forgetting your innate abilities or your knowledge or your experiences, or maybe even doubting yourself a little bit in ways that are not honoring all that you are and all that you need. Now we got herb garden. This is medicinal. I'm trying to think of like what this means. Maybe this is a reminder that you don't have to do everything alone. Maybe it's about trusting that you can find the right sort of supplemental support in different ways, right? By utilizing the magic of the earth and the things that are growing, kind of feeding your own sense of what is trying to grow within yourself, right? Because herbs have a lot of medicinal properties, they have a lot of like beneficial properties. And when I think of herb garden, I think that it's maybe like not only are we trying to grow things that taste good to us, but that also can be useful in our magical workings, that can also be useful in like healing ourselves. And so maybe this is kind of saying like there's some medicine here that maybe hasn't been utilized, and maybe it's time to kind of bring that back in. I think it's also very prevalent to like the energy of spring, of like things like that are fresh and green, and seeing more like things come back to life, seeing things grow, planting seeds. So I think that this is kind of saying like, what are you planting? What are you growing? How are you taking care of yourself from a more like herb aspect? I'm not telling you to do like more herbs or anything like that, so don't take it that way. I think it's more of just like, how are you supplementing yourself? How are you taking care of yourself? How are you recognizing the medicine in the things around you, whether that's like a physical atmosphere, whether that is like what you're doing with yourself energetically. I think it's more of just kind of planting those seeds to kind of move into the next phase by feeding what your soul really needs. And I thought this was funny. I haven't used this deck too much either, and this is FOMO, so clear your vibes. I don't know if this is a card I pulled last time, and I did shuffle these decks very well. So I just think it's funny. I think what this is maybe just kind of saying like, stop comparing yourself to somebody else's life. And especially if you're like, I'm privy to all of the information in my life. And sometimes it's hard not to see somebody else and kind of go off of like what I can view in their scope, in their world, and judge myself against that kind of perspective. And I think with FOMO is that it's maybe just kind of saying like there's this fear of missing out, right? That's what it means for those of you guys that maybe don't know what it means. So I think it's just kind of telling you to kind of cleanse that mind. Don't let those things just kind of distract you from what you should be doing, where you're at, how life is going for you, what sort of things are coming up for you at this time. And I think that it's maybe just a reminder to kind of rebalance yourself. And I think with shadow work, that is essentially the biggest kind of takeaway is that you get to rebalance yourself. You get to kind of clear out these little dark aspects within yourself that maybe need a little bit of light shined on them, that maybe need a little bit of like growth, and maybe need a little bit of like this potential of, oh, that isn't as like bad as I thought it was, or as I was kind of co-creating it to be. And I think with FOMO is that maybe it's saying like, stop comparing where you're at and what you're doing and what's happening with you to anybody else's path and what they are experiencing in their own lives. Now, finally, we have the Temple of My Body. And I think, again, I think it goes very well with the herb garden kind of card where it's maybe you need to take care of your physical self, your body, what you need, maybe even understanding that you're needing to kind of maybe step back into recognizing what your body needs, recognizing what helps you grow, whether it's like even understanding that everything is nourishment to some degree, whether it's our environments, whether it's people, whether it's what we do, what we eat, drink your water basically, and take care of yourself. And I think with the Temple of My Body is that it's really just kind of saying like, maybe you haven't been really stepping back into feeling how it is that you're, needing to show up at this time because you're too distracted by the other things. And I think with the metamorphosis and FOMO, it's kind of saying like, let's clear this energy so that our ambition, our willpower, and our creation can kind of really elevate us to the next thing. And we can kind of move back into this energy of seeing the potential of our wishes really coming true due to us really stepping fully into who we are, what we need, and really stepping into our power as well as our belief in like what our strength is, not just on an internal level, but then also recognizing that all of this is going to help us really show up the way that we should. So let's get one little affirmation card and see what can kind of help us move into this. That's funny. I did actually pull this for the March Energies guide, and it says it's okay for me to feel proud. And I think for shadow work, that's perfect because I think a lot of us have gotten into this like, we have to be humble, we have to kind of like minimize, we have to be very like, oh no, I'm not those things, or oh yeah, no, I'm not that good at this, or oh, everybody gets to do these sort of things. So I'm going to grab one more. And I think it's just kind of saying, I am blessed. I think that for a lot of us, we tend to struggle with giving ourselves permission to just really be in gratitude for everything that we're experiencing, everything that we've gone through, how we deal with those things. And I think with this card where it's saying, it's okay for me to feel proud, it is telling you it's okay for you to feel proud and you are blessed at this time. So kind of move into being okay with having that feeling, as weird as it may feel. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that this reading brought you some clarity, some things to maybe think about, maybe even an opportunity to kind of look within a little bit deeper. And as always, I hope you guys take it easy, take care, be kind. Know that I love you always, always. And if you guys are looking for your own personalized readings, you can always find me on my website at www.astrologyandangelmediums.com. I have a lot of free information on my website, on my blog. I have deck reviews. I have, a lot of different events coming up. So you guys are more than welcome to check that out and connect with me. So thank you so much for watching and subscribing. I appreciate your support everywhere. And thank you. I hope the day is as beautiful as you are. Have a good one. Bye.